All right, good afternoon, everybody. So I picked up this fat pack today over at Walgreens. It looks like it might be Walgreens exclusive. It was the first product from 2022 that I purchased, and I was looking at the odds on the back of it. So I haven't really been out to buy a lot of new product recently, just because of some of the prices, but also the return on the investment that other channels will kind of do much better job of detailing than I do. But essentially, like the odds of getting like something that's worth a kind of long-term value are pretty low, and because of the production, the base cards don't hold a lot of value, which I find a little disappointing, but I understand that's just kind of the state of the hobby right now. So I was looking at the odds in the back of this fat pack, which we will be opening in a little bit. I saw that the gold cards, probably move that closer to the camera so you probably can see a little bit what the odds are. Right there, gold is going to be like 1 in 15. And I was thinking, wow, that's really changed since some of the odds for cards in the past and some of the past releases. The odds of getting a card that was a parallel were much easier. Now granted, the royal blue ones I think that they have in there are like maybe 1 in 4 packs, so there's probably a better chance if we have one it's going to be that. But I got it to just kind of get involved a little bit with the fun with the Wandermania. Maybe we'll get a Wander Franco, maybe we won't. But when I was thinking about that, one of the other projects I've been working on for a few years takes me back 21 years. So I had a couple different periods where I've been in and out of the hobby, as many people have. First time, I was initiated back in the mid 80s and kind of collected through the early part of the 90s, and then I stopped at some point during high school and didn't return to it really till about after college, which was right around about year 2000. I started buying a lot of stuff then. Later that year, they actually started releasing some of the 2001 products, which included the 50th anniversary set release of Topps. And one of the featured things that they had in there was the gold parallels, which they didn't call them at that point gold cards. They called them the 50th anniversary gold parallels. It wasn't the first time. Obviously, they had serial numbered parallels in their packs for sets. But this is really the first time they did it with the main set, which obviously a lot of people refer to as like the flagship set. They had like parallels in 92 and 93 and 94, which were 1 per pack, but they weren't serial numbered. It was the first time they actually started putting serial numbers on the base parallels for all the cards in the set, which you could only collect through buying packs. And so the series pack odds were like 1 in 17 for Series 1 and 1 in 14 for Series 2. I always felt like it was much easier to get them when I started opening that product. Unfortunately, I stopped a bit in 2001, right, probably around in the springtime, which is kind of unfortunate. So I missed out the opportunity to really go after the Ishiro at that time, or the Pujols and the traded set at that time. So now those cards are like obviously thousands of dollars, and sometimes more than that, depending on what condition they're in. Both those guys are probably on like the dream list of cards I'd like to get at some point, but it's certainly not something I'm like focusing on right now. But when I returned to the hobby recently, back in like 2018, 19, I was like, hey, I'd like to like kind of go back to those cards. I thought they were kind of cool at the time, and get all the Stars and Hall of Famers for the base set. I extended it since now to try and include the traded set, even though I haven't picked up any of those yet. So at some point, I probably will be trying to chase down a Pujols rookie card, but I would need the Ishiro to complete it. So I wanted to show you guys like what I've been able to accumulate so far, and just kind of talk a little bit about my experience kind of buying these cards. I'll start with the ones that I've graded first. So the first one being Roger Clemens. Hopefully you can see that a little bit better. Let me zoom the camera in a little bit so it's easier to see. One of the things you'll notice is like none of these are going to be graded very high, and what you found was the centering sometimes wasn't great on these cards, and the gold foil that they used was very delicate, so it was very prone to get bent and chip quite a bit, so that in essence it was very hard to get like 9s and 10s on some of the scores for these cards. So that's one of the downside, and they changed that when they released the 2002 product into a different card stock altogether. So really these are the only ones that ever really kind of were printed this way, where they have this kind of gold foil, which you'll see a little bit better when you have some of the raw cards. So that was Roger Clemens. It's one of them I had picked up recently. I also got Todd Helton, again like a 7.5, not like a great score. Neither of these guys are in the Hall of Fame at this point. They're both had been both on the Hall of Fame ballot until recently when Clemens was dropped. Helton is still a possibility. But we'll see at some point whether or not Roger Clemens is able to make it in. I do think that Bruce Bochy is going to be a Hall of Fame manager. I think his accomplishments with the Giants speak for themselves. 3 World Series titles in 5 years is an accomplishment for anybody. So that was probably the closest thing we kind of had to a dynasty for this last decade. He was very successful even when he was with the Padres before then. I think he's very deserving. So at some point, I hope that gets in. What I forgot to also point out is the serial numbering. You'll see it on the back in like this gold stamp on the back of the cards. So you can see it a little bit better right there. And you also can kind of see, because of how much gold foil's on here, you can kind of see how it's designed. If it was taken out of the case, you might see that there is little indentations for when it was on the cardstock, for when that was being printed. And the final one I have is Sammy Sosa. And another guy, maybe at some point he'll get recognition for the Hall of Fame for his accomplishments. I'm not holding my breath, just given like how the steroid era people have been treated this far. I have my own opinion of those things, maybe for another time and another discussion. Maybe we talk about like some guys that have missed the Hall of Fame that would otherwise be Hall of Famers. All right, so now I'm going to go into the raw cards, and here's my favorite player growing up. This was Cal Ripken Jr. He's the first card in the set. And the serial number on the back. I think these were kind of cool designs back in the day too, because they had the photo on the front and the background with the stats imposed upon in the front on top of it. I think that was just kind of a cool design. So that's Ripken right there. I got Garrett Anderson too. I got that one for, he was an all-star a few times, and I think maybe close to an MVP candidate on some of these teams. For the Angels, may have been maybe the most accomplished player on the Angels team that won the World Series. But he was the MVP of the 2003 All-Star Game, which is the one that I attended in person when it was at Comiskey Park, then called Comiskey Park. Mike Mussina, what you'll find with this set, it's kind of interesting. You'll see him appear twice. Some of the guys that had made big off-season moves early enough actually ended up in Series 2, not just Update. Pedro Martinez, which was probably my favorite pitcher of that era. This set I really kind of gravitated towards because it's got some of the players I grew up watching when I was younger finishing their careers. But it also has a lot of the players I would like to watch as a young adult too, like a Pedro Martinez. Here's an example of somebody that I really enjoyed throughout all of his career when I was a kid. It was Harold Baines. White Sox fans really enjoy him. Put that one aside. I got Manny. Why not? He's also going to be one of those guys that's going to have 2 cards in here too. I don't have them all yet, but my list is pretty short. It's down in the low teens, like how many more I need to get. Here's one of my favorite ones. It's the Derek Jeter. I have 2 copies of this one. I'm just showing one though. The other one goes with a different project that I've almost completed. Ricky Henderson. Like I said, it's kind of cool. You got some of the stars from the 80s just finishing up their career in this set. I think that's one of the neat parts about this set. And the fact that it's now over 20 years, most of these guys are all retired, so you kind of know who's getting in and who hasn't. I think the only one that's still technically active that appears in 2001 is Albert Pujols. He hasn't obviously, I don't know if he's assigned with anybody yet, but I hope he does. Paul Konerko, World Series hero Paul Konerko for the local fans here in Chicago. Huge fan favorite. Probably one of their better sluggers in the last 25 years. David Ortiz, Big Papi, recent Hall of Fame inductee. I see he'll be inducted over the summer. That's when he was still with the Twins. Tom Glavine. Shortly before he got traded over to, or signed with the Mets. I put Chris Carpenter in here. Man, the Blue Jays had a really good rotation right there at the end of the 90s, but couldn't keep it together. Carpenter obviously was huge in the World Series accomplishments for the St. Louis Cardinals. Ray Halladay is another one there. Still Toronto at that point. A-Rod, another one that's going to appear a couple times. Unfortunately, as much as I love this era of baseball, it's loaded with the steroid players too. Tony Gwynn, this is the second to the last card actually. At some point I would, when I finish some other project, I'd like to be able to, at least since the introduction of gold cards, get the final player card in gold for all the Hall of Famers that have been inducted since then. So I have some of them already, like Harold Baines and Cal Ripken. Frank Thomas, the Big Hurt. I think someone did a shout out about showing me some cool Frank Thomas stuff in one of my last videos. Well, here's one of them. I think it's kind of cool. I do have some other cool Frank Thomas stuff. Possibly I'll show in a future video. Bartolo Colon. I will mention that Frank was my favorite White Sox player, and is my favorite White Sox player, even to this day. Craig Biggio, hitting there at Wrigley Field. Vlad Guerrero Sr. See, that corner's not too great at the top there. A lot of these I picked up, some as cheap as $1. Some were a whole lot more than that. I thought they were kind of affordable, but it's taking forever to get them because they're just not cards that people put up very often, especially like a Mark Grace. You know, it shows up periodically and you have to kind of just jump on it when you get it, when you see it, I should say. Some more managers. Bobby Cox. I think I'm only missing 2 more managers to get the Hall of Fame managers. I'd like to get Joe Torre and Tony La Russa are in there. Spruce Butch again. I got the graded one after I'd already picked up this one. And the managers weren't too expensive when I got them. I think another future manager that will go in the Hall of Fame will be Dusty Baker. I got that when he was with the Giants. I thought that was cool seeing it the other day that Dusty got his lineup card, exchanged it with his son. That was kind of cool, I thought. I remember his son when he was being saved at home plate, I think by JT Snow from a collision back in, I think like the 2001 or 2 playoffs. Jeff Bagwell. Andy Pettit. I was a big Andy Pettit fan on that Yankee team. Just thought he was a real cool customer that was pretty awesome during any of the World Series games that he pitched in. And obviously, in that era, the Yankees were in a lot of them. Kenny Lofton. In my mind, somebody that should be considered for the Hall of Fame. Hope he gets more votes in the future. If he's still on the ballot, I can't remember if he is or isn't. Scott Rowland, someone that probably will eventually get in. That's what it seems to be trending towards at this point. He was with Philadelphia before he came over to the Cardinals. Barry Bonds, probably the most controversial player in modern baseball history for sure. We all have our different opinions. I enjoyed watching him, and I have some mixed feelings about how he ended his career, but I really enjoyed him when he was with the Pirates. Magglio Ordonez, I got this one because, yeah, he was all-star a few times and even an MVP candidate when he went over to the Tigers, but he was one heck of a player for the White Sox. And this was like the year just after they were in the playoffs. The first time I was able to go in like 7 years after 93. They made it in 2000. That's also why I picked up the Ray Durham. Also batting at Wrigley Field in one of those interleague games that I probably went to a lot during that time frame. Jeff Kent. Maybe he'll get some Hall of Fame love. I'm not sure. He's not very well liked within baseball, but also with the writers too. But he could hit. He could definitely hit. Mariana Rivera. And this one's in really good shape too. At some point I might even kind of like see how the grading goes with it, even though I know these cards are so super delicate. But this one's in really sharp shape. I mentioned Mike Mussina. We're into like Series 2 now, so here he appears again with the Yankees. Just missed being on those Yankee teams that won World Series. Just missed him. Kurt Schilling. I guess maybe he's also one of those divisive characters in baseball right now. Kind of his own doing. Omar Vizquel. Also kind of in a little bit of hot water now after his retirement. enjoyed watching he and Roberto Alomar play, though, a lot, even though I just hated whenever we played Cleveland because I knew we probably were going to lose. Ken Griffey Jr. This one's pretty cool. Who doesn't like Junior, right? Another Manny with the Red Sox. That was the offseason he signed with Boston. So Andrew Jones. At some point will be in the Hall of Fame. Don't have Chipper Jones yet. That's one I need to pick up. Alex Rodriguez. That's another. With the Rangers. That was when he signed his big contract. this is Roberto Alomar. Also somebody in some hot water now for some of the stuff he's done recently. Albert Bell, another guy that you, even when he was on your team, you kind of didn't really like him, but you liked what he contributed to your team. He had that really awesome season for the White Sox before he was moved over to Baltimore. John Smoltz. Rafael Palmeiro. Never forget him testifying to Congress and later getting caught testing positive for steroids. Larry Walker. One of the more recent Hall of Fame inductees. Got a couple left. The Professor, Greg Maddux. More recent pickups, Trevor Hoffman. And then final one I got right now for the time being, this guy I'm hoping will get in at some point, Carlos Beltran. All right, well, now we're gonna switch gears a little, partake a little bit in the fun of Wandermania, if you will, in the hobby. I at least will get one today, because I already ordered this one and it arrived earlier this week, the Wander Franco Topps Living card. So, kind of cool. I'm sure a lot of people bought that one, so it's not probably all that super short printed. All right, let's move this out of the way. Let's open this fat pack and see if we have anything. All right. What do you guys think of the design for this year? I'm kind of indifferent when I've seen it. I think it'll make really good Topps Chromes cards, but the base cards, I'm okay. Got Luis Robert, always happy when I get a White Sox. This one is actually an uncorrected error from what I understand. They spelled Yastrzemski wrong, which is hilarious considering, you know, his grandfather is a Hall of Famer. Okay. Bregman, he has a bounce back season. It's something shiny in the middle of the pack. Don't know what it is though. Christian Walker. I haven't watched any breaks to see what's the collation to look for Wander Franco. That'd be fun to get one. Matt Chapman recently traded. Andre Jackson. James McCann. He's a decent White Sox player when we had him for a brief period of time. Gavin Sheets rookie. We'll see how he does. Oh, I got something serial numbered. And it's a White Sox player. That's kind of cool. And it's my favorite White Sox player. Welcome to the show, Frank Thomas. That's kind of cool. Numbered out of 299. Okay. Fun in the collection. Here's the shiny stuff. So I got a Topps Chrome card. Stars of the MLB, Byron Buxton. Okay, something else shiny in there too. I didn't know there was Topps Chromes cards in there. I'll have to look at the odds, see what they were. Andrew McCutchen. Oh, got a foil of Juan Soto. I don't know if these are, I'm guessing they're probably pretty common just because they're in the middle of the pack. And I got multiples, but not kind of cool looking card. And another Byron Buxton. I got the chrome one and the non-chrome one. Okay, so we didn't get any fancy Wander Franco cards there, but I'm happy at least with the Frank Thomas. Great Peralta, Kurt Suzuki, Norris Gurriel, Bryant Hayes, future star. There's Archer, and he'll have a bounce back here. We'll see. He could really pitch. Soto, Mike Brousseau, Jose Altuve, Steven Matz, Ricky Hernandez. Yeah, I don't think we got one. That's all right though. Just finish this pack out with Merrifield. Kind of fun looking Bo Bichette and Zach Lauder. So there you go. Probably the hit of the pack would be that Frank Thomas. I guess that chrome card is probably somewhat significant. And I'll look up the parallels and like the odds are and to see what these things were. Feel free to, if you see anything kind of cool there, feel free to comment on this video. I'll see exactly what these Stars of the MLB cards kind of are. So since I got one that's kind of neat, and sleeve it up here in a minute. All right, and I will see you all later.